Hello everyone, this is Ponder on Weather. In this update, we have an interesting weather pattern setting up over the next 7 to 10 days as a southern jet will be active in multiple cold blasts, will set up cross-polar flow, and could potentially set up an East Coast snowstorm. So let's take a look at the overall ensembles over the next 7 days. And what we're going to be finding is this ridge of high pressure that's been really locked over portions of Alaska, that's going to be filtering in off the west coast, bringing those slightly warmer conditions, and these will migrate from west to east all throughout next week. At the same time, we'll be setting up cross-polar flow to our northern regions, and at the same time we'll have a southern jet that will be active. All this actually could combine for potential East Coast snowstorm as we get after Thanksgiving. So let's take a look at the setup this morning on the hazard index, and we got some pretty cold stuff. We still have one more initial Arctic blast to come through, but we've got freeze watches and freeze warnings in place for all the way down into the deep south. This is a pretty impressive cold blast for November standards, and we've got more cold air to follow as multiple winter weather advisories up to the north, as well as a historic lake effect snow event could take shape. In fact, look at the latest update from the National Weather Service, and guys, this is going to be some crazy epic snowfall. I mean, we're talking anywhere from 36 to 48 up to 4 feet. They even up the ante and up to 5 feet just south of Buffalo here. So yeah, all this actually gets going tonight. There's actually some places already have a foot of snow, just portions of Erie there in Erie, Pennsylvania, just south of there. But man, this is going to could potentially rival the 2014 and 2000 events. But further to the north, up at Watertown, they could easily pick up 3 feet in itself. And so, and here's the latest update from the high resolution guidance. I mean, this is almost off the chart, 71 inches. This is some crazy stuff. Has the maximum capability of potential up to 6 feet of snow just over the next 48 hours. So really, this is going to be really cranking over Lake Erie with those 3 to potentially up to 6 inch per hour snowfall rates. And obviously we've got extreme impacts on the table for a good portions of Watertown, but especially into Buffalo. This could be an historic event unfolding over the next 2 days that we've been highlighting on this channel. But over the breakdown for the rest of the country for today, we've got some snow showers still breaking up further to the north and good chunk of the upper Midwest and along the Great Lakes. And there's your lake effect snow event that's going to be taking place. But here's another initial blast of Arctic air that's going from the north to the south, and that's the form where it's going to be into Oklahoma today, and that will continue to push south. Here's what the initial cold blast, which was rare to see, and that made it all the way through Florida. And then as we move through time going into Friday, that initial Arctic blast will continue to move southbound. It'll pass Oklahoma. You're going to be hard pressed to even get above freezing in Oklahoma City with some pretty cold temperatures. And all the action will be right into the Great Lakes with that epic lake effect snow event that's going to be taking place up there. But further to the south, we've got some kind of light rain showers breaking out into central Texas as well as into South Texas out ahead of that Arctic blast. And we'll also have a snowstorm breaking out in the Rockies as well. I'm looking at another potential 2 to 6 inches of snowfall in and around the Denver Metroplex. So more snow heading your way for you guys as the West Coast will continue to remain dry. So as we move through your Saturday time frame, going into Friday night, Saturday, we could be looking at some light dusting or snow showers in and around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, just northwest of Dallas, heading into West Texas. So don't be surprised if you wake up or if you're up early enough to see some light flurries up in this area, even though it's actually not showing. But we'll have some sprinkles to even light rain further to the south with that low pressure center. And then, of course, there's the snow along the Great Lakes. So it'll be really cranking by then, and we'll be looking at feet of snow easily on the table. So as we move through your Saturday behind that cold front, it's cold stuff, guys. I mean, these are your high temperatures for Saturday. You're talking in the teens for highs in Minnesota and a good chunk of Wisconsin here. That's some pretty cold stuff, even for them. But look how far south and how widespread this cold takes place. These are record low maximum record high low maximum temperatures in a good chunk of Texas, with 47 reaching all the way down for the deep south. That's a high temperature, folks. That is well below average for this time of year. So you can actually see this is fairly widespread, and typically these are your average temperatures. I know some people don't know what they typically look like at this time of year. People move around a lot, but this is what you would normally be for this time of year. Even a high of 15 or 17 up here in Minnesota is basically 17 or 20 degrees below average, what you typically see. So down here further to the south into Texas, you're talking 60s and 70s. So to get 47 for a high temperature for deep south of Texas, that's a pretty significant cold blast for sure. And a lot of you guys are going to be feeling it in a big way, and it will definitely not feel like the middle of November. But as we go into next week, what we're going to be finding is this southern jet stream will actually start to get active again. So as these systems will come down, we'll be watching this low pressure center just off into western portions of Canada. As the subtropical jet will start to get active, we'll start to ring out some more kind of chilly rain over portions of Texas into Louisiana and parts of the deep south. But all this will actually combine as this low pressure center will actually shift and push further to the south. It'll tap into this subtropical jet, and that could set the stage for some potential action for snow as we get into your Thanksgiving, headed into after Thanksgiving. So this is your setup by Wednesday. So we're going to be watching this trough, this trough of low pressure that's going to be bringing some much colder conditions, probably some more snow back into portions of Idaho, back into Montana, back into Wyoming, as we'll have that southern jet will remain active, with Florida getting some rain showers by then. We'll have the snowstorm winding down into the upper Great Lakes. That'll be done by then, and all the action will be in the midsection of the country watching this developing low pressure center. So on the surface map, we'll have those rain showers the day before Thanksgiving and parts of all along the coast here into Texas and Arkansas, back into Louisiana, back into Mississippi and Alabama, into Georgia, into the Carolinas, back into Florida. And then we'll have that northern branch with that cross-polar flow starting to set up by then, with the much colder conditions still pushing from the north. So we still got more cold air in place. We've been actually below average for almost a week now, and we still have another week for a good chunk of the country to be below average before those warmer conditions start to migrate a little by little as they move from the west to the east, kind of really all throughout the week of next week. But things start to get interesting once we head towards Thanksgiving. So we're going to be watching this significant trough that's going to be building into the midsection of the country. And as this digs, the further this is able to dig, the further it's going to be able to tap into this subtropical jet stream. And the more it digs, the more moisture it's going to be able to pick up. So it's also going to be bringing some cooler air with it in itself, as we'll still get some cold blast even as we head into even to your Thanksgiving day. So as we move going into Friday, things start to get even more interesting as we have a significant vorticity starting to really develop over a good chunk of Missouri, back into Arkansas, heading up into portions of Illinois. This thing is really going to be winding up by then, as we'll be tapping in and really starting to look for this subtropical jet really starting to get its act together. And like I mentioned, the further south it's able to go, the more moisture it's going to be able to tap into. So if we look at some of the teleconnections, we've been looking at this for about a week now. So we're finally getting that kind of V shape with that, and one more Arctic blast coming through and really amplifying as we get towards the 18th and 19th, in 2 days from now. But then it rapidly surge, and as it lifts, lifts northward, that's going to tap into that subtropical jet and going to be able to maybe lift and bring that moisture and then head to positive once we get to the day after Thanksgiving. So that's where things start to get interesting. And then really all eyes will be on the NAO, which is your North American oscillation, because by the time we get into, say, Thanksgiving, it actually tries to go negative again. So this will be a crucial mechanism. The further negative it's going to be able to pull, the more blocking that's going to be able to take place, the more moisture it's going to be able to tap into in that subtropical jet. That means you got more snow going to be heading and as it pulls into that colder air, heading up into the Ohio Valley to the mid-Atlantic and heading into the Northeast. The further, so as we move through time, we'll look at the surface map with that low pressure. We'll have a low pressure center setting up over portions of Illinois, setting up over Michigan and parts of the upper Great Lakes, as we'll have another low pressure center with that kind of V-shaped recovery in the EPO, right? This low pressure center will set up off the East Coast, so that'll be all determined on the placement of this North American Oscillation Index. So if we take a look at the broader view, we'll have that troughing underneath, so the ridge starts to really build. This is the day after Thanksgiving. This is Friday, November the 25th by then. So we'll have that ridge slowly building from California west to east all throughout the week. It'll finally hit their central part of the U.S., so you'll start to be slightly just kind of average conditions as you move into your central states. But we're watching this trough as it further it's able to dig. Here's your blocking over Greenland. You'd like to have this a little bit further back. The more further back it's able to bring, the more slowing and the less progressive this type of trough would be as it comes up the East Coast. So as it looks right now, that formidable low pressure center will be off the East Coast here, wrapping around and dumping some very heavy snow over the mid-Atlantic states into the Northeast. So it does have a lot of potential, going forward as we move through time, heading into Friday into next weekend time frame. So if we look at some of the ensemble guidance and look at some of the probabilities of at least 1 inch of snow, it's got a pretty good swath up to the Ohio Valley and a good chunk of the mid-Atlantic and into the Northeast. And this is on the GFS ensembles as well as the European ensemble. So this definitely has a lot of potential. Now, as far as the amounts go, will all determine how much blocking we're going to be able to get from that NAO, and the placement of that, and of course the speed of the system will have a lot to do with it. The more progressive this is going to be, the less snow you're going to be able to get. The less progressive, and if you get more blocking, it's going to be able to slow down, tap into some of that subtropical jet, bringing obviously more heavier snows into that region. But the Climate Prediction Center has highlighted this area. So we're going to be some rain showers in a good chunk of, say, Texas and Louisiana and Oklahoma for your, say, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday time frame. And then once we get into the 24th, the 25th, into the 26th time frame, here's your southern branch lifting above average rains for a good chunk of the southeast, and this will head up the East Coast. So there's a lot of dynamics on the table with this potential snowstorm as we head into next weekend. And then, of course, the atmospheric river will be coming back into play for the Pacific Northwest, and those rains will start sometime the day before Thanksgiving or right at Thanksgiving, will last likely through the end of the month. But the winds are going to be a major player with this system as that significant trough will dive in the midsection of the country. That will bring a lot of winds. And then, of course, this low pressure center will be developing off the East Coast. That'll pick up the elevated winds and bring them inland into the East Coast. So we'll be fine and tuning this as we get closer to this event. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.